Got it. So, see my camera smile. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rev 360's webinar. We're going to be doing this a whole lot more often. We're going to be doing this a whole lot more often. This is the first of many in trying to build a more cohesive community where we can ask questions in a deeper way. So thank you so much for coming. This is Tokwe Mark Odige. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tokwe Mark Odige, your favorite wealth and investment coach. And during our webinars, we'll be sharing on principles for you to maximize your real estate investment. However, in this particular webinar, we are going to be drilling specifically in this webinar. We're talking about how you can unlock the opportunities in flexible payment plan. So what is flexible payment plan about? What are the what's the thing for you? How in this program, I'm going to be educating you on the potential of real estate, as an investor, on the various concepts and benefits of flexible payment plan. I'm also going to show you how flexible payment plan can provide opportunities for you to increase your profits and increase your investment potential within the real estate space. And then we'll be discussing the risk, because with everything, there are risks, and then we'll go into the best practices. Once again, I am Tokwe Mark Odige, and I'm the CEO of Rev 360. And in this particular webinar, the first of many, which we'll be doing every month, we will be analyzing different topics that will help investors to maximize profits within the real estate space. So, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to start by sharing my slide right now and start screen share. Yes. No. I'm trying to find a way to share screen. I've seen it, but it's not giving me the way I want it to give me. So figure it out in a short while. Okay, I have never done Zoom here before, so I'm not given permission to be able to use Zoom. I'm already streaming on YouTube, so our little guesswork that we're doing is live on YouTube, which is not nice. All right, I need to use my fingerprints to authenticate. All right, I think that now I can share my screen. Awesome, you see the wonders of technology. It will seem like you don't know it. All you need to do is figure it out. So you see, these are our objectives. Laulu, if you're in the meeting, you've been made a co-host so that you can add people into the meeting. So I'll love you to do that for me. Are you in the meeting? So let me make you a co-host as well, so you can add people, so that I'm not distracted by trying to add new people.
I've got it covered here,
meeting.
I've got it covered.
Yes, so thank you. All right. I already broke down that there are key things that we're trying to achieve through the training. And one of the key things I wanted to achieve through this training was to help every one of you joining. At the end of this training, you will understand what are the risks involved in installmental payments, flexible payments. You would also understand how Nigeria evolved our own style. You would understand the opportunities, the risk, and you will know how to avoid them. At the end, you will be a wiser real estate investor, and that's the goal of our webinars. Our monthly Rev 360 webinars are drilling down to the real estate space to ensure that everyone that attends this webinar will become a master of real estate investment. So, basic introduction, flexible payment in real estate really is a transaction that provides alternative financing arrangement. It allows buyers to make payments in tranches over an agreed period, offering increased affordability and accommodating different financial situation. And if you look at historically, the reason people started creating flexible payments was because at some point in time, it seemed like only those that were extremely rich could acquire real estate. But when the opportunities of payment plan came into being, it provided more options. So here I'm listing types of payments options for real estate financing. Of course, we all know outright payment, where you just carry your cash and do boom, you buy like that. It rarely happens in diaspora, but it happens a lot in Nigeria. Many people in Nigeria, this is the preferred means of property acquisition, where you save your money and then you just pay to the buyer and you're done. Then we have mortgage financing. This was a revolution. It was a major, it was a tool that was used to create what they call, to democratize the ability to, how will I put it? I'm looking for the best way to put it, because the real estate space was on a high. People could only go into real estate when you had money. So a lot of people were disenfranchised from being able to deal or play within the real estate space. However, when the idea of mortgage came into play, what mortgage did was to provide a level, almost level playing ground for anyone who has a steady means of income to be able to buy a property. You know, and it was for me a major blessing. Though in Nigeria, we have not properly maximized the mortgage opportunity. You know, Nigeria, there is mortgage in Nigeria. There are mortgage banks, they provide mortgage loans, they help you to acquire property. But in Nigeria, very few people have access to mortgages. Essentially, mortgage is a type of loan that applies to real estate, land, and houses, typically. And in the mortgage system, the thing you acquire will serve as your collateral. So whenever you're trying to get a loan, usually you need to have like a collateral in the Nigerian system. Even in other countries, when you want to buy a property, you need to have, or buy anything, you need to have collateral to access loan. But the idea of mortgage was to ensure that even without you having acquired something before, you are able to acquire a property and use the property as the, what's the word, as your collateral. So mortgage itself came from a French word, and it's like the origin of mortgage is like a dead pledge. Like, this is something I'm going to do this, you know. And historically, when you think about who invented mortgage system, it's been for years before, it said, the 5th century before Christ, you know. So mortgage system had been on ground for many years. I wonder why we have not totally embraced it in Nigeria, but it is something that the more we embrace in Nigeria, the better the option will be for people to acquire property. Ideally, when it comes to all real estate payment options, the best for me that I would say properly levels the playing field for everyone is mortgage. But if you study some countries' mortgage model, is not profitable. the people making the real money, especially if you think about mortgage in the US, when you analyze the US mortgage system, yes, you get access to the house. Yes, you get access to owning your own home, but you're paying like ×4 what you would have paid had you paid outright. So there is a lot of profit within the mortgage industry. We just need to get more people involved in it within Nigeria. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen and moving on to the next thing. Rent to own agreement. Rent to own agreement also has a very old history, you know, something that mortgage started in the Persian world, in Iran, historical Iran before Christ. And similar to rent to own too, it was a means to ensure that more people can own their own home. Because the thing about real estate isn't just about personally owning properties. It's not just about, oh, I want to live in my own house. Real estate is a platform, a tool that provides opportunity. It opens the doors of opportunity. When I was doing a class to talk about real estate and its impact on women, I mentioned how for some women, owning real estate is the only reason they will not die in a marriage, because they are being beaten and they have no other option. So real estate at that point is not, I want to own my own home. I want to be a real estate investor. For them, it is the key between life and death. For some other people, real estate provides not just provides them the opportunity to be able to take care of their children. Their children can go to school. You know, maybe they are from a polygamous home and the husband says, I cannot send these children to school. Having real estate now ensures that they can send the children to school. Sometimes real estate is how people can get quality food. You know, so there are many things attached to real estate. So historically, every government kept looking for how to ensure that real estate becomes available to everyone. So rent to own became another policy. And with rent to own, you spread you pay in installments to own the house. The mortgage is similar to mortgage, but your initial deposit is higher than with mortgage. In most cases, mortgage is requiring from you 5 to 10%. With rent to own, you are requiring like 30 to 50%, but then you are now paying, like you're paying your rent and then you are owning the house. Then we can talk about seller financing. So this seller financing is something that I probably would not be able to explain very well, if not for my recent trip to the US. So whenever I travel, being that I'm a real estate, in the real estate space, I always find out what is going on within real estate. I do real estate tours, not just to market my properties, but also to learn. And while on my last real estate tour, I was going to acquire a property in the US, and having that conversation and thinking of how to finance it and thinking of how to access mortgage, I was told, oh, mortgage was not available to me because I'm not a citizen. I don't have a business in the US yet. And I started asking about seller financing. And surprisingly, I didn't even know what seller financing was until one of my hosts in the US told me that you could do something called seller financing, that they took advantage of that, where the seller is the one mortgaging to you. Because typically, if you're selling a property in developed countries, even me selling properties, are paying a lot of money as tax. You are also paying tax. This way, they can boycott a bulk portion of the tax. I'll take it again. If you are buying a property from me in the US, I would pay taxes on the income I make from you, from selling that property as a whole sum, because I'll be getting a lump sum of money. You also will pay a few sets of bills on your property acquisition. However, with seller financing, we get to boycott that. We go directly into dealing with one another. So I don't have to use a mortgage system. I don't have to go to the bank. I don't have to involve the government. I will simply hand over the keys to the house to you. So I'm the one being your mortgage system. You will not be paying me little by little. So I don't get that money in bulk. And that is a beautiful solution option for, oh, sorry, I just skipped my slide to Yes, I'm back where I should be. So that provides a major option for people who are thinking in terms of how do I acquire a property, especially if I'm not in that space where I can access mortgage. So I can leverage relationship. Maybe you know the owner of the house. You can tell the owner that I have a good job. I'll pay you in installments and I'll just pay it directly into your personal account. These tend to happen more often with people that want to retire, people that are retiring and they don't want to have to pay a lot of money as their, they don't want to lose most of the money to, what's the word? Taxes. They don't want to lose a lot of the money to taxes. So then the next is bridge loan. So bridge loan is a more short-term financing. They use it for real estate, they use it for many other things. It's that I am expecting a lump sum of money. Maybe you are coming into retirement and you've seen a very good property, but you don't want to miss out on the property. You get a bridge loan. You use the bridge loan to fund the purchase of the property. It is it's a source of funding capital to a person, a company, before they secure a permanent financing. So maybe I'm even working on a mortgage, but the mortgage has not come through and I don't want to miss out on the property I'm acquiring. So I will get a bridge loan. By getting that bridge loan, I'm able to use that loan as a bridge between my expected permanent funding, whether it's through retirement or it is that permanent funding is going to be coming through mortgage or any other. Maybe I have an existing debt. Somebody is owing me money and the person has promised me that they will pay me. So while I'm waiting for the person to pay me my money, I can decide that, okay, I'm not going to continue waiting. Let me just take advantage of this bridge loan and grab this opportunity that is currently available to me. So bridge loan is another very, very good option. We don't have a lot of bridge loan in Nigeria. If you see bridge loan in Nigeria, they're like Shylock systems, But for those in diaspora, because I know some of you watching me are in diaspora, it is a very good opportunity for you to get loan. Then we have the Nigerian inventions. These last two were invented by Nigerians. Maybe historically there might be a crude form of doing it, but these are the last two that we do most in Nigeria. So the first bullet point, outright payment, is our Nigerian preferred method. The second one is the installmental payment and off-plan. I am sure that in some developed countries, they don't know what off-plan is. The only reason we do what is called off-plan in Nigeria, let me break it down, is because people don't have money to acquire, to build. I'm a real estate developer, and I have a land, and I want to build on my, what do you call it? I want to build some houses. Let me say I want to build like 8 apartments. So of the 8 apartments, because I don't have enough money to build, but I have the land, I will do the design. I'll do the architectural design. I'll do the layout. I'll do everything, make it very beautiful, do a beautiful video. When I now finish doing that, I will sell before laying foundation. When I sell, I use the money I make from selling off plan, like to build the house. So this is because we don't have proper financing within Nigeria. Off plan has become a solution for developers to be able to build without having financing, professional financing. So that's an invention of the Nigerian system. Another invention of the Nigerian system is installmental payments, interest-based installmental payments. As someone within the same field, when I want to sell property and I see that I've been marketing, 10 people can pay outright, but 100 people can pay in installments. So it makes sense to create an installmental payment system that ensures that I am not locked to only people who can afford to pay outright. So essentially, real estate developers like me become the mortgage system for individuals that want to invest by ensuring that we give them the property at we charge an interest, and then they are paying an installment. At the end of the period, they own the property. Now, while I have educated you on all the foundation of why payment plan and flexible payment was important, let me go into flexible payment advantages. There are 3 key advantages of flexible payment. It provides accessibility. Payments plan makes entry for investors easier because you can start small. And I'll give you personal stories. There are many, when Nigeria was trying to make sense, when they were really, really making sense, many government officials come up with different platforms. I grew up in an LBIC-owned house. Amuodofin, Mile 2. My parents had bought the house by installmental payments. It was a mortgage system through the Lagos Building Investment Corporation. So you save your money towards ownership. The process of building would have been extremely complicated for my parents at the time when they acquired this house. They acquired the house when I was like 5 years old. Both parents were extremely young couple, and they were barely 7 years in marriage, but they were able to acquire their house, even though they were doing, my dad was into furniture. Yes, he got to work for big banks and all of that. And my mom was selling shoe materials. So these are people that had monies that were coming in little bits, but because of the structure that was on ground at that time through LBIC, they were able to acquire their own house and pay installmentally for it. So it provides that access, that there is nobody that should be able to acquire a land. When Nigeria talks about housing deficit, it's not really about access to house. No, it's about access to affordable house. Is that your drivers can be able to say, from the small money I'm earning, I can be making some small savings and I will own a house or own a land. So that is the first thing that flexible payments does in solving problem. Another key advantage of flexible payment, and this one is for those of you that are like me, there are some of us that we are gifted to manage resources. Like, we have the gift of managing resources. Honestly, it is not, even though I've gone to school, I've learned more about money management, but I believe strongly that inside my DNA, right from when I was born as an Ijebu girl, there is something about me and my ability to manage money. So for those of us that we are careful about cash flow management, then this is another very important point. With flexible payment, investors can manage their cash flow. Cash flow is king. If you are doing business, you are doing anything you are doing in this life, ability to earn is too important. So let me give you a practical example. Let me stop sharing slide. Imagine that you have 10 million naira, just an example, that you want to use to acquire a property, and that 10 million naira is with you cash, and you're thinking about it. If this location is truly profitable, let's talk about Zuri City. Zuri City now is so strategically positioned, one of our estates in Ekpe, and you have Zuri City going for 3.5 million naira. You have 10 million naira. You can decide that I don't want to put all my 10 million into buying land, or I don't want to just pay outright for 2 plots of Zuri City. Why don't I buy 10 plots of Zuri City? So there are 10 plots of Zuri City, and I'm just going to use my 10 million as a deposit for 10 plots of Zuri City. Because I know I have cash flow, I can always get more money to balance up. Before in a year time or 6 months time, the price of Zuri City changes, I'm able to sell for a profit. Another option, let's say I have only 5 million naira and I want to still acquire a property, but in that same moment, I want to book for my trip abroad. At that same moment, I'm looking at my 5 million naira and I want to buy real estate, but I have school fees to pay. I want to pay for a course. I would rather make a deposit and manage my cash available to do other things. So cash flow management is also a strong bonus from flexible payments. Instead of me putting all the money I have, personal story, when I was going to buy my first gold jewelry, I did the calculation. I could easily have emptied my account, my salary for the entire month and pay for the gold, and I'll be drinking Gary the rest of the month. But I spoke to the lady and said, okay, why don't I pay you in installments for this same jewelry? And she said, yes. So even though I could have paid in 3 months, I spread the payments for 5 months so that it's convenient for me. Also, I'm going to be traveling later in the year, and I have been paying in installment for my ticket since like 4 months now. What have I done? I have been managing my cash flow so that if there is any need for me to have an emergency financial moment, I have the money to fund it because I have not locked down my entire cash into one transaction. So that's the beauty of having, that's another advantage of having a flexible payment, is that you can spread the cash flow. And this can be applicable in different areas. You want to buy a car. Why would I pay for the car all at once when I can pay for the car in 10 installments? And then in that same vein, as I'm buying the car, I am buying something else. I am not locked to only owning a car and drinking Gary, or owning a car and I cannot buy fuel. I cannot buy clothes. I can't pay for school fees because I own a car. You know, because I want to buy a car does not mean that I should not be able to buy clothes or take my children out for events because I want to own one thing. So the cash flow management is very important. Then maximum use of funds. Investors are not burdened with tying their entire capital down to one real estate. So with our assets, there are options. Back to my example of I have 10 million naira. So you have 10 million naira and you're thinking, I want to acquire properties, and I know the prices might change. So I now decide that I am going to use my 10 million naira. I'll deposit 1 million for Zurich City, deposit 1 million for Ire, deposit 5 million for Kairos. I am able to use that 10 million by managing my funds. So the third advantage of flexible payment is managing use of fund. What are the things I can do with this money? I'm able to maximize it. Now, these things I'm sharing are seemingly peculiar to Nigeria because, hey, my real estate space is largely Nigeria. And sometimes when people in diaspora think about Nigeria, many people want to come to Nigeria and say, why are you doing this? Where I'm from? Like, you're not from Nigeria. In the US, we don't do things like this. In the UK, we don't do things like this. In Norway, we don't do things like this. Hello, in Nigeria, we're doing things like this because you cannot force the level of infrastructure and development on us like the one they have in those countries you're mentioning. Every country involved, they evolved based on, every country evolved based on the reality that they were experiencing per time, solving unique problems. So in solving our unique problem is why we created installmental payments. It is why we created outright payment. It is why we created systems that would work for us. Why? In other developed countries, they know your address. They know they can trace you. They can, your plate number, your number plate can be used to trace you. In Nigeria, somebody can buy a property, buy something and disappear. They can buy it and resell it 2 times and you will never be able to find that individual because we don't have enough database. So we had to evolve a solution, even for us at Red 360. We do installmental payments. We make it available for customers, but we don't give you, and that will be my next point. So let me talk about, I've spoken about the advantages of payments paying in installments. I'll talk about the risk associated with installmental payments. There are some disadvantages / risk that are associated with installmental payments. Number one of the risk is defaults. You know, if a buyer is unable to continue with payments, maybe due to financial constraints or unforeseen circumstances. I had someone that said, in 2021, a client of mine that caught COVID, and it was really bad. She's a medical personnel, and she was paying in installments for a house. But she defaulted beyond the period of time, which was 3 months. There was a 3-month default period. And by reason of no fault of hers, she couldn't work. If you know, a nurse in the US You are paid by your work. If you are out of work, it means you are out of pay. The little savings you have is just to cover your rent and be able to feed. So over 3 months, she lost her job, had to try and get another one. In between that period, she defaulted. No fault of hers. Unexpected circumstances, financial constraints happened, she couldn't pay. And disadvantage of instrumental payments is that there will be repercussions for your defaults. In most cases, they are, except you are dealing with a company you had pre-informed, or the company too isn't being tied by number two. Number two disadvantage of instrumental payment is the interest rate and inflation. Now, when we were preparing for this meeting in the office, I was arguing with one of our team, Lalu, that no, interest rate inflation does not occur in Nigeria. Nigeria real estate prices never, ever go down. But as I was saying it, it occurred to me that imagine if you bought a land or a house in Banana Island, and you bought it when Naira was 700 or Naira is 600. And by some stroke of luck, as I have been praying very hard that God will help our current president to be able to solve the problem of Forex, and Naira falls to 300, automatically your property has depreciated in value even while you are on the installments. So there are potential higher overall costs due to interest rates. And there's also the challenge of fluctuation in the inflation leading to fluctuation in prices. And in Nigeria, one of our biggest challenge with real estate is inflation. The cost of things keep changing. Within a 5-year period, cement went from 1.8 in less than 5 years to 4.5, like 1,800 to 4,500. And then it has come down, it will go up. The fluctuation of prices makes it difficult for real estate players to be able to peg and be sure this is what I can deliver at the end of the day. So let's talk about interest rates and inflation. So if we say prices of property never goes down, but if you are doing exchange, if you're buying and the prices fluctuate because of your diaspora, foreign changing money, that can prove to be a challenge. There was also an example that came to my head when I was discussing with my team that imagine right now, if you have 1,000 pounds and you bring it to Nigeria, you have almost 1 million naira. It's ridiculous, but you guys are enjoying. Continue. We in Nigeria, we are praying very hard. Not that your own money will devalue, your 1,000 pounds to 1,000 pounds, but that our own money here will appreciate. And by the grace of God, our president will find a solution. So let's say that you were doing instrumental payments where you said, I'll be paying 1 million naira every month. And for you, it's not a big deal. It's 1,000 pounds. But abracadabra, God blesses our leaders with good ideas. They implement the ideas. And Naira appreciates to 500 to a pound. I know some of you are wondering, what kind of example is TMO giving like this? This example does not suit me. Calm down. Don't be selfish in your approach towards investments. Because you are in the diaspora does not mean you should be wishing us that we are here, that our money will continue to depreciate so that you will be able to enjoy. So, see, automatically, your 1 million naira projection, just based on normal economics, that Nigeria's naira has appreciated, has turned to 500,000 naira. And that could pose a constraint on your projection and your ability to acquire what you plan to acquire. And then number 3, legal and regulatory risk. There are legal risk with everything that once it comes to investment, there would always be risk. And it is important that you know that there will be risk. If I tell you buying a property from TMO is 100% guaranteed, that is because I am bearing the risk for you. I always tell our investors that your money is 100% guaranteed. And the reason I'm saying that is not because there are no risk. It is because as a company, we are shouldering the risk on behalf of our clients, but there are still risks. There are also regulatory risk. If there are disputes, there'll be fines, there'll be penalties. If for any reason, some companies, during the process of their instrumental payments, like those that the people that bought the Ikoyi house, Ikoyi building that collapsed because the owner died in that building, everybody there, they are left to wait until the legalities finish before there's any hope of them getting refunded. And those properties are extremely expensive. So prepare for the fact that, prepare for the hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Have the legal part of your agreements, check within yourself. If anything happens, what are the position? I have some clients ask me some questions and they be like, I'm sorry for asking such tough questions. I say, no, I'm happy you're asking this question, because I might not have thought it was necessary to answer or give all this information. But by you asking, you have saved me the headache of having to say, oh, I forgot. Had I known, I'll have told you about it. Then the last disadvantage to installmental payments is limited access. When you are paying in installments, you have limited access or control over the property until you complete the payment, because it is not your own until the end of the term of payments. And let me tell you why this is extremely important. Because there was a time that I was selling a property. Then I was selling as a realtor. I still help the real estate company to sell. They had a 7-year payment plan on the property, and people were paying. They said, we'll give you the property once it is 50% payments. My dear brothers and sisters watching me, we Nigerians, we will collect the key to the house. People that have been faithful, once the money clocks 50%, suddenly they will stop paying. I'm like, is it that, what happened? Because they have control, they now have access to the investments, access to the property, people stopped paying. Default rate skyrocketed to over 50%. At a point, it was like 90% of everybody who got the key stopped paying. And so the company decided that they were going to start paying, only giving people access until 100%. And you cannot blame them. Sometimes what we are calling wickedness, or how can you do this to your own fellow Nigerian? It is the Nigerians that taught other Nigerians to be wicked to themselves. So with us, when I was pitching to investors at LBS, the question came up that, what if people are paying in installments and they don't pay? I said, well, it's not my loss. It's their loss, because they don't have access. I don't give them documents to the property until they finish their payments. And I'm letting you know, because when I was telling investors that, this to make the investors know that their asset is protected until complete payment, you don't get access to the property. And that is part of this disadvantage, because actually you should be able to have access in normal climes. You've already committed, you've signed a contract. In normal climes, you should have access to a property you're already paying for. But in Nigeria, we have been burnt so many times that, is it roasted? Roasted is not even, we cannot try it. We cannot try it. One of my friends was just telling me that the driver, a driver of a neighbor that has been working with them since January this year, dropped her in the office and drove off. The man drove off with the car. They did not see the car for 3 weeks. They said they had used police and police could not trace the car. The woman had to, and she had paid police. She had to pay a private investigator to be able to trace her car from the driver. In proper settings, there are best practices. And those are the things I'm going to be sharing with you. And my expectation is that if you check these things before entering into any payment plan, you'll be avoiding a lot of mistakes and heartache if you check these boxes before entering into any payment plan. So the first thing is watch out, like be on the lookout. Identify and mitigate risk associated with flexible payment plan. How do you do that? It's by being on the watch out. Who are the people you are trying to do business with? Who is the person? Because if you don't know the person you're trying to do business with, you need to be able to identify. I did a few one-on-one to a few of our clients. I think I reached out to about 60
Shut your bitch ass up, nigger, bitch. Nobody loves you.
Oh my God.
Can you mute everybody?
Oh my god, I'm about to bust. Oh shit. Oh,
Kill all niggers! Kill all niggers! I hate niggers! They can all burn in hell! I fucking despise niggers!
shit.
Out of the server if you're a nigger, I swear!
Oh, fuck.